What is going on, everybody? I'm Jordan McKelly. That's Mitchell Balla, my co-host beside me. And welcome to episode 20 of Cover Your Balls. We're covering all your sports balls. Unless you play tennis. We don't cover a whole lot of tennis here, but if you have other balls, we'll cover them. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend, Mitch. Tom Brady is like a serial killer. You just can't get him down on the mat. Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs. I felt like there was a lot more losers than there were winners this weekend, Mitch.
100%.
Happy Tuesday. How we doing, baby?
Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and as McConan said, he's got the club going up on a Tuesday. And this is like a club in here because it's a damn party when we cover your balls.
Wow. It is a party when we cover your balls. Guys, it's ready, and we're ready. It's ready. It is ready, but we are also ready for our top four at 4. And today, Mitch, our top 4 at 4 is our top 4 Nickelodeon shows of all time. Mitch, there are so many good shows that we're not going to mention today, but you can only give me your top 4. Give them to me.
Well, I told you last week when you gave me this topic, I'm giving you 5 because I can, because this is our show. So I'm giving you a top 5 at 4, because at 4, I have a tie between iCarly and SpongeBob.
Wow.
SpongeBob, just a phenomenal show. I'm even supporting Bold and Brash right now. If you're watching us live and see the shirt I have on.
Oh my God, I didn't see that shirt. That's awesome.
Just one of the most relatable and quotable cartoons of our childhood.
Yeah.
At number 3, Jimmy Neutron. How can you not like Jimmy Neutron? Phenomenal show. I've always wanted to try those like little brain blast candies or whatever they called that he'd always eat. But Jimmy Neutron at 3. At 2, Drake and Josh. I mean, what a phenomenal show. One of the best of all time on Nickelodeon. But Jordan, this is definitely an unpopular opinion at 1. But my personal favorite of all time was Danny Phantom. I love Danny Phantom.
Wow. Good one.
One of the greatest shows on Nickelodeon, in my opinion, that I thoroughly enjoyed watching. I have watched it over on Hulu now, time after time. And so Danny Phantom is my number 1 Nickelodeon show.
Wow, that was a solid top 4. I didn't like the iCarly. I wasn't a huge iCarly fan. There's so many good shows, like I said, that I had to make a list. My top 4 is super strong, but here's some honorable mentions, and there's some great shows that I'm not even going to give an honorable mention to. Honorable mentions from Jordan McKelly. Jimmy Neutron. Man, Jimmy Neutron was great. Drake and Josh. Cat Dog. The Angry Beavers. Ren and Stimpy and Doug. Those are my honorable mentions. Now let's get into my list. At number 4, I have coming in at Mitch's number 1, Danny Phantom. Danny Phantom was unbelievable. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that. At number 3, might be unpopular, I don't care. Fairly Odd Parents. I think it's one of the best TV shows of all time, let alone cartoons. Huge Fairly Odd Parents. Wanda.
Absolutely.
What's the other? It's Wanda and
Cosmo.
Cosmo
and Wanda.
That's right. At number 2, I don't know if you remember this, Mitch, but this was during, like, right in the middle of my childhood, so I don't know if it's a little too old for you. Rocket Power. Oh my gosh. What a show. They came out with a movie where they went to New Zealand. It was fantastic. Rocket Power at number 2. And at number 1, maybe the greatest TV show of all time. That's counting Game of Thrones. That's counting Friends, Seinfeld. At number 1, I have Hey Arnold. Yep. At number 1, it's Hey Arnold. That is my top 4 at 4 for Nickelodeon shows.
In your honorable mention, did you happen to mention the Rugrats? Because that's another one I loved growing up. The Rugrats is another great one. The other one, the Wild Thornberries. You remember the Wild Thornberries?
My grandma used to call them the Wild Thornbirds. Not the grandma that's both of our grandmas, but my other grandma. When we used to watch them, she used to call them the Wild Thornbirds. And then there was Ginger. Don't forget about Ginger. All That, Who's Afraid of the Dark, All Real Monsters. I mean, we're talking about some classic shows that, honest to God, if we showed our list of people, there'd probably be some old heads that are a couple of years older than me that'd be very upset at our list. But they don't know what's good and what's not.
Is Nickelodeon the greatest? I don't want to say Cartoon Network because there's actual Cartoon Network, but I mean, is Nickelodeon the best network for when it comes to childhood TV shows over the other popular 2 or 3?
I'm not sure how it used to be, Mitch, but I'll tell you what. It has to be almost 1. I mean, it's way better than the Disney Channel. Was never a huge fan of Disney shows. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll put it this way: Nickelodeon's top 2, and it's not 2.
Oh, wow! Look at this, Mitch. We guys listening on Apple Music or Spotify. We have some comments coming in. Somebody just said Ed, and anyone. That was a good show. It was pretty goofy. I enjoyed that. Mitch, let's get into the nuts and bolts of today's show. There was a lot of stuff that happened over the weekend that made most of America sad. The rich just keep getting richer. Tom Brady continues to play, and he has taken the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mitch, all the way to the Super Bowl. How is this guy still alive, playing football at this kind of level? I don't know. What did you make of that Tampa Bay Bucks Green Bay game, Mitch?
Well, I know how he's alive. He's breathing still, so that's usually a big thing on how you're alive. But going to the football game now, a very good game. Very good game. But Jordan, like you said at the beginning of the show, there were a lot more losers this weekend than there were winners. And Tom Brady served that game up on a platter to Green Bay. And if it wasn't for a coaching gaffe, if it wasn't for, an appearance from Helen Keller on the field by Green Bay, it would be maybe a different outcome. But you know what? Unfortunately, all those things happen. And you got to give credit. Listen, I'll give credit to Tom Brady, even if he did throw 3 interceptions. But Jordan, I think all the credit in the world goes to Todd Bowles and that defense from Tampa. Because, like you said, you have to capitalize when you get turnovers. And Green Bay couldn't. But it wasn't that Aaron Rodgers sucked. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was the best player in that game. 364 yards, 3 touchdowns. His interception I have a problem with because there was holding that wasn't called that led to him getting intercepted, which is still BS. Shocker, calls go Tom Brady's way, but that's what happens when you play year in, year out. But Todd Bowles' defense stepped up, a defense that you and I had talked about all year how bad they were, Jordan. I mean, let's go back to earlier when we started the show. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense was pretty abysmal. There were some games where it was just like, what are these guys doing? Todd Bowles had his team ready, and they blew through the tackles. The left tackle Bakhtari was out, and then the right tackle for the Packers, Wagner, who is the worst right tackle ever in the history of Madden and in NFL. Shane Kelly can attest to that. Listen, I give all the credit in the world to Tampa's defense. You really have to, and then also the coaching gaffes of Matt LaFleur and Mike Pettin.
Wow. You said Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback. I mean, not just the best quarterback. I'm sorry. You said he was the best player in the game Sunday. Aaron Rodgers, the same guy who got 3 turnovers from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and accounted for 6 points. Sorry, if we're going to put this guy...
I just told you why. I just gave all the credit in the world to the Tampa Bay defense.
No. You're telling me, okay, for all of the people out there who think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback ever, Tampa's defense they shouldn't trump you in an NFC Championship game. He's lost his last 4 NFC Championship games. Like, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best QBs of all time. But, I had him maybe at 1, maybe at 2. Honest to God, if you can't win an NFC Championship game, I don't know how you can be even in my top 5 or top 10. He loses all of his big games. And we can say that there aren't pieces around him. Like they picked Jordan Love, who wasn't even their backup quarterback this year. They could have got a player who could have actually contributed this year. We can talk all about that. But Aaron Rodgers was on fire the whole season. On fire the whole season.
Hello?
Hell was that? I'm not sure what that was, Mitch. That was terrifying. I don't even have a sound effects that... Oh, my God. ESPN. Always up in another window. And it was Tom Brady throwing a touchdown. Picture that. Aaron Rodgers was disappointing this weekend. I wanted Tom Brady to win this game just so we could go to a Super Bowl, Mitch, but let me just be short with this. Aaron Rodgers was supposed to do what Aaron Rodgers does, and I understand that they dropped a 2-point conversion. I understand that Devontae Adams wasn't great, but that's why you get paid the big money. He didn't deliver, and at some point he has to deliver. I mean, the first He's only won one NFC Championship game. That was his first one, and he ended up winning the Super Bowl that one. That was over a decade ago. When is Aaron Rodgers going to show up in the big moments? Because I don't care if you go, 14-2, 13-3, 12-4 in the regular season. If you can't finish it, especially when you're playing at home against Lambeau, in Lambeau, there's no excuses. There's absolutely no excuses for Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady was average at best. Even some of his throws that were good throws, he threw up like a 50. Do you remember that 50-yard Hail Mary he threw up to, it was basically a Hail Mary. Who caught it? Godwin at like midfield, not above midfield, like at the 30-yard line for the Packers. He just threw the ball up. It was one-on-one, but even his good plays weren't that great. He had a couple throws, but man, that has to be disappointing for a Packer team that had to think that they were the favorites, even if they won this game. At least in my opinion, I would have taken them over Kansas City, but that's why I would have been a fool, because they're not even going to get to the Super Bowl to play Kansas City. So
here's the thing, though. You can't blame Aaron Rodgers for not scoring on those 3 interceptions when, one, your running back, who some thought was top 5 in the league this year, fumbles the ball away and gives it back to the team. Right? That's not Aaron Rodgers' fault.
No.
Your wide receiver drops a pass on 3rd down. Listen, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers was a better quarterback than Tom Brady on Sunday. I said, Tom Brady tried to give that game away.
Well, of course, he was better than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not, but those guys are in completely different places in their career. We shouldn't be comparing those guys, even in their performances Sunday.
But the thing is, everyone that keeps saying Aaron Rodgers should have ran for it on 3rd down.
He wasn't going to get there. There was a guy right beside him.
Exactly. Everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers isn't Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. He's not a guy that's going to run you over. So, 1, he's not getting there. But 2, he didn't go for it because he thought they were going for it on 4th and goal, which I think the entire country thought they were going to. But Matt LaFleur said, let's kick a field goal and still make it a 5-point game. Jordan, I think the moment's too big for that guy. It's 2 years in a row now. Last year, they get blown out. There's no excuse for anybody on the Packers last year. Rodgers didn't show up. LaFleur didn't show up. You remember last year against San Francisco. But I think Tom Brady's new favorite teammate of all time is Kevin King, the defensive back for the Green Bay Packers, who just said, to hell with this. Let's have 3 touchdowns on my resume. Not guarding Scotty Miller, which, by the way, Mike Pettin, what the hell are you doing? What kind of defense was that before half? That looked like you were still coaching in Cleveland. That's what it was, actually, now that I think about it. But I just think the Packers organization as a whole has failed Aaron Rodgers. I'm not talking about just this game, but like you said, and like Brandon Ranke has said in our comments, he has thrown 4 touchdown passes to a first-round pick in his entire career. Doesn't need a first round. Not everybody needs a first round pick. He's made Devontae Adams a superstar, and Devontae Adams, who's usually reliable, drops the back shoulder fade or back shoulder catch in the end zone. Just of all the times that things could have gone bad, it went bad for Green Bay.
Yeah, it definitely did. And it's going to be a very weird offseason for the Green Bay Packers, because now next on the table for them as an organization is the draft. Something that they botched last year, and something that is really kind of puts Aaron Rodgers' long-term deal with the Packers in jeopardy. Even though he has 2 more years left on his deal, Aaron Rodgers, make no mistake, could force his way out of there.
Absolutely.
Quarterbacks in this league have the same power that all-stars have in the NBA, and if you don't think so, just think about Eli Manning. Eli Manning made sure he didn't go to an organization, and he wasn't even good yet. In fact, he was never really good. But he did that even as a rookie, right? And so you can definitely force your way out. I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. That was the first thing I felt Sunday. I just felt bad for him because he's doing more with less.
Oh, yeah.
But, you have to come in those key moments, and he hasn't. And he doesn't have a supporting cast like Tom Brady. Let's be honest. But I will say this. You said Green Bay's failed Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real here. Drew Brees only has 1 Super Bowl, and Drew Brees has one of the best coaches ever, and the Saints have arguably had the best roster for multiple years. They can't even get
absolutely.
Down. Saints are still a great organization. I think Green Bay's a great organization. I just think it's that hard to win Super Bowls in this league. It's not just good enough to have a great arm. It's not good enough for certain people to be in position. You have to be a leader of men. Tom Brady went down to Tampa Bay, and right off the bat, the mood changed. The mood changed immediately, right? And I don't.
We talked about that on Sunday.
Exactly, and not many players, have both skill sets to be a leader and a great player, and we can't put that on Aaron Rodgers. He's still one of the greatest ever to do it. But man, that was I think that's a black stain on his resume. I won't forget that game, and I won't forget that he's had 4 games now where he's lost in the NFC Championship game. I mean, that's choke city. Let's just be honest with you. If you're good enough to get there, you should be good enough to win that game. And it's it's gonna be a long off season for Aaron Rodgers. Mitch, you got anything else about that game?
No.
Well, let's get to the AFC matchup then. Kansas City is going to another Super Bowl. Second year in a row, and it's their third year they've gone to at least the AFC Championship game. And had Patrick Mahomes got the ball back in overtime 2 years ago, it might be their third Super Bowl in a row that they would be going to. The Bills got up on Kansas City early, but, I mean, if you were watching that game, you knew the avalanche was coming and that the Bills were not going to be able to avoid it. And there it was. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Hardman, Andy Reid. It was impressive what they did to the Bills. What were your takeaways from that game?
I wasn't surprised, really. I couldn't help but sit there after Hardman fumbled at the 1 and Buffalo scored to make it 9-0. And as soon as you miss an extra point, I don't know why, and this is just how I feel, but I feel like you lose momentum no matter what. Like it doesn't matter who you are or what the score is, but as soon as he missed that extra point, I said, damn, that's going to hurt. And credit to Kansas City, because that next drive, McCole Hardman got the ball to make up for his mistake. And he broke off that 51-yard end around. Kansas City has all the right guys in all the right places, and they have the right guy at the helm in Andy Reid. And it's going to be, I mean, look, as crazy as it sounds, because you can't just predict dynasties. We thought the Warriors dynasty was going to be something in the NBA for years, and here it crumbled after 4. Granted, injuries happen, but I mean, Kansas City right now looks like they are the new dynasty. Like you said, 3 straight AFC Championship games. They've hosted all 3. They're an overtime away and a possession away from possibly being in the 3rd straight Super Bowl. Listen, Buffalo's a great team. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not, but Josh Allen, you could tell, wasn't ready for the moment. You could tell that entire team wasn't ready for the moment. Their defense wasn't. Their defense had been suspect all year. And this is a team, they'd played each other already, and it looked like Kansas City knew what they wanted to do. And Jordan, they went out there and they did what they wanted to do. And that was the big thing.
Oh, they did exactly what they wanted to do. When you have to have such confidence when you know that you have 4 guys on your offense, 3 guys on your offense, that if they touch the ball, it's game over. I mean, Hardman he's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Tyreek Hill is the fastest guy, and Travis Kelce might be the most. He's not tackable. Like it's so hard to tackle him in open field. I remember
and his hands.
Yeah. Somebody had a tackle on him for like 3 yards early in the game, and it was a one-on-one tackle, and I was just like, wow, he doesn't make that tackle. That could be it. And when you have those guys, it's easy to stay present even when things aren't going your way, because you know at any moment you can pop off big plays, and no other teams have this big play capability like Kansas City has. And I feel like mentally it kind of keeps you in a place where you're not freaking out, because you absolutely know that you can come back, and it's just not you can come back on paper. It's, hey guys, we've done this. We've done this so many times. We've come back. Like we were down 24-0, like in a blink of an eye in a playoff game last year, and then all of a sudden, the Texans are down 3 touchdowns after being up 3 possessions, almost 4. It might be the best offense we've ever seen, just because it's the right people, the right place, the right time. It's,
right.
It's real. I've only seen one other offense like this that I can vividly remember, and that is the offense Tom Brady ran when he had Randy Moss, when he threw like 24 touchdowns to Randy Moss that season. Teams like this don't come along often, and they need to win now before everybody around Patrick Mahomes gets these massive contracts, man.
Yep. I was going to say that's going to be the downfall. That could end up being the downfall of the dynasty, because, a couple weeks ago, I believe it was episode 18, maybe 17, we talked about contracts.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about all the guys up there, and then you looked at Drew Brees and Tom Brady, 2 guys that have been phenomenal in the regular season.
No doubt.
Way down in the pay grade. I mean, they were behind some backup quarterbacks in the NFL getting paid. They have been able to surround themselves throughout their entire career. Pat Mahomes is the richest man alive in professional sports. I mean, the man is making the most in the history of the NFL. So what happens when Tyreek Hill's a free agent, when Travis Kelce's a free agent, even McCole Hardman? It's going to be interesting to see if these guys take pay cuts or if they're going to want to go get their money, because Pat Mahomes can't take a pay cut anymore. We're talking about Baker Mayfield and what he should be paid, or does he take a little bit of a discount to keep guys around him? Pat Mahomes has already established, I'm not taking a pay cut signing for the next, 12 plus years. Yeah. So it's going to be up to other guys and what they want to do. That could be the downfall of what ruins this. But Jordan, for the time being, I don't know if anyone's going to stop Kansas City right now in the AFC, let alone the NFL.
And I think one thing that might help them is, Tyreek Hill and Hardman fit in Kansas City better than they would fit anywhere else, just because they have Patrick Mahomes. When you can, have these 70-yard bombs that are unscripted, because your ability to move in the pocket efficiently, those are the guys you want, because they can get open, because you can't cover guys who are that fast for that long. I mean, you only have so long. So, man, flipping this over, going to the Buffalo Bills, I did not want them to win. And this is why I told you I didn't want them to win. I didn't want their organization thinking that they're any better than they are. I want them to think that they're still the Jim Kelly Buffalo Bills. They can get to the Super Bowl, but just not good enough to finish. I don't want any organizations getting better in the AFC. But with that being said, I think the Bills are going to be a problem for a couple years. I don't think this is a one-time thing. I think the Bills are going to continue to circle the wagons, Mitch. That's a really good football team, coached by one of the best coaches in the NFL. But Sunday, Sean McDermott did something that kept his team out of the football game, and that was kicking field goals. Yep. He never really attempted to go for it. He wasn't very risky. You just can't take. I understand taking points, and I would have done that, I think, against every other team. But you can't do that against the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You might be able to do that against every other team ever, except maybe this Kansas City Chiefs team with Patrick Mahomes. What's your opinion on it? Do you think it was smart to take the points just because of the momentum that the Bills were riding? Or do you think Sean McDermott should have been a little more aggressive and tried to get the ball into the end zone, even if it resulted in 0 points with field goals?
I think he was way too conservative. Maybe kicking one field goal in the first half like they did. Yeah. But I mean, you have to chase points when you're one of a team with an offense like that prolific of an offense. And then you're also on the road. Maybe if you're at home, it's a little different because you have the crowd on your side, but you can't play catch up with this team. We've seen it all year. There's a reason the Chiefs are 24-1 in their last 25 games. It's absurd.
That's absurd.
And we talk about everybody all year. Oh, the Chiefs, they look sluggish. And what did I say all year? I think they're just bored. And Jordan, they proved it Sunday that we can flip it on whenever we want. And that's scary because that's what I figured they were doing all year. I think their defense was sleepwalking all year too. They were the 31st rush defense, and they stopped the Browns' run game for the most part 2 weeks ago. And they didn't really allow Josh Allen to get out and do what he does with his legs rushing. Now, I know Allen led the Bills with 88 yards rushing, but he likes to get out of the pocket a little bit and extend plays when he can with that big arm he has, and they try to contain him for the most part. And if I'm Sean McDermott, it's hindsight now. Same with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, kicking the field goal. You have to be aggressive. If like you said, if it's another team, you take the points. But against the Chiefs, you have to be aggressive. And we've seen twice now with Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland not going for it. As mind-blowing as it sounds, on 4th and 8 in their territory, not going for it. You never got the ball back. And Sean McDermott kicking field goals instead of risking it and going, and the lead just kept building. And it was too late.
Yeah. We actually have some audio from one of the Buffalo Bills fans. He sent it in when Sean McDermott was electing to kick field goals instead of touchdowns. Let me pull up this audio. Yeah, that's right. If I was a Bills fan and I had to watch it's unbelievable. How can you be an elite coach and make that decision? You said it all. I'm not going to add on, but it makes me mad just to think about it because that's not how you win football games, especially in the playoffs, especially against a team that is maybe an all-time great team, Mitch. Makes no sense. Doesn't Doesn't make any sense, and that's why they're going to be at home this weekend. But Mitch, before we go into your half-hour headlines, I have one question to ask, and it's a big question. Who reaches or wins the Super Bowl first? Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, or past MVP, Lamar Jackson? Who's the first one to win the Super Bowl?
I'm going to eliminate one right now. I'm going to say it's Lamar Jackson is not in contention.
Wow.
And
the only one who hasn't won an MVP. He's the only one who's won an MVP, and he's not in contention. Keep going.
Call me crazy. And people are going to think I'm a homer. But I think Baker Mayfield has the best shot right now, considering how much we know we have to fix. For Buffalo, they need to fix the run game, and Jordan gets up and leaves, which that's okay. Buffalo needs to fix a run game. They have no running back, and I know Josh Allen's a big dude. He can't be running the ball, though. Their defense is suspect, too. Cleveland has to clean up the defensive side, and that's about it. We know what we have on offense. And
that's about it?
On the defensive side for the Browns? What do you want them to clean up on offense?
Well, I mean, when you say that's it, that's 50% of the ball almost, and we need like 9 out of 11 new guys. Keep going. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but that's all I'm doing.
50%. It's easier to focus on half than the whole.
Well, no doubt, but the Browns have a lot more things to fix than Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. That's the most well-rounded team. I think it's one of the most well-rounded teams.
And guess what? If Brian Daboll leaves, we don't know what's going to happen to Josh Allen. A brand new coordinator, new system.
That's true. That's true.
It's between Baker and Josh Allen. In my opinion, Baltimore is nowhere close, and they won't be close because we see Lamar Jackson can't handle it in the playoffs, and teams are adjusting to the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, last time I checked, Lamar Jackson has a playoff win, just like Baker and Josh Allen.
First time in 3 years.
Well,
first time in 3 years.
First time in 3 years. You know, we talk about who Aaron Rodgers has to work with. Who the hell does Lamar Jackson have to work with? I mean, who's his second best player?
Hey, they have an offense built around him to run the ball. Well, don't give me who's his second. He's a tight end. He loves his tight ends. They got Mark Andrews.
That's like saying, well, you have Aaron Rodgers. You don't need anybody to pass the ball to. You still need people. Like Lamar Jackson still needs help. They got
everybody's fanboying over Marquise Hollywood Brown. I mean, I don't know.
He doesn't. He has terrible hands. I'm going to give you the person.
He's overrated.
He is overrated. You think so? You think it's Baker?
Right now, I'd say it's Baker Mayfield.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson just because he's probably the rawest talent I've ever seen on a football field. I mean, he's only lost to like 4 teams in his career in like 3 years. MVP. When he's playing at the peak of his game, I don't know if there's anybody as good as Lamar Jackson. I think he's that good. There's a reason he won MVP last year. I would love for it to be the Browns. I'd love for it to be Baker Mayfield. But, I mean, when you look at the back end of the Browns defense, it just doesn't need help. It needs a total rehaul. Like, we're not doing renovation in this house. We need to tear half the house down and rebuild half the house. Like, there's a lot of things that the Browns need on defense that they don't have. We were talking earlier. I didn't realize how bad our linebacker play, but according to you and everybody else, we have the worst linebackers on the planet. And I would say our secondary is worse than our linebackers. So with that being said, that is why I would take. I don't trust Josh Allen, so I think I'm going to go Lamar, Baker, then Josh Allen. That's it.
The only thing about the Browns defense is you're getting at least 2 guys back next year off injury. You don't have to. Now, granted, they could come back and just absolutely suck, which wouldn't surprise me because that's just the luck of Cleveland. But I just the Browns have so many assets they can use to go get players. I mean, hell, there's the New Orleans Saints are $100 million over the cap. If I'm the Browns and you've seen rumors out there, and I've had somebody send me something, go get Marshawn Lattimore right now. Trade a couple mid-round picks for Marshawn Lattimore and have your top 2 corners ready. You get Grant Delpit back and go from there. You draft linebackers and edge rushers opposite of Myles Garrett, and we see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. It's possible that we can just fix one level of our defense, and our other levels will get better if we fix one half of it. It takes the responsibility. The extra responsibility off part of our defense if we can fix some of it. So even if we're gonna target our linebackers in the offseason, or if we're gonna go after defensive backs. I don't know which one, but I think we should go after one harder than the other, and then see if we can get some veterans to come in with those positions who we can teach quickly. Because I think the Browns are in a win now mode. Win now mode, not mood. Mode. But
I agree. Well, since you said win now mode, there's a lot of people out there that would say, could the Browns go do what the Buccaneers did this past offseason? Could the Browns go get a different quarterback, which I am totally against? I'd rather just keep the system. But we know Matt Stafford wants out of Detroit, and Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. And now we don't know what's going on in Green Bay. So, Jordan, where, one, is Matt Stafford going to end up? Two, would you go get any of those three guys for win now mode, or would you stay content with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback?
So this is how I'm going to start this off. One, I'm going to stay with Baker Mayfield. It's just not his play that makes the Browns good. It's he is a leader. Everybody in the locker room loves him. The fans love him. And he just provides a certain level of energy that you need to win at a high level. Matt Stafford, he's going to end up an Indianapolis Colt, which is I don't think is going to be good for the Browns. I like Matt Stafford. I've never been incredibly high on him. I mean, I've watched Aaron Rodgers play with similar rosters that Matt Stafford's played with. I mean, and Matt Stafford can't make a playoff game. So as good as we think Matt Stafford is, we'd have to see what he looks like in Indianapolis. But it's possible that he goes to Indianapolis and he keeps somebody out of the playoffs. Honestly, I think the Titans' playoff window's closed. So if Indianapolis does get Matt Stafford, I pick them to win the AFC South immediately.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you have to. Me personally, I think the no-brainer is Matt Stafford to the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, wow.
A guy leaving a dome to go play in some warm weather still. Championship type defense when healthy. I mean, that's just a fact. And they're really a quarterback away. I mean, let's be honest. If they would have had Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, would they have beat the Chiefs? Because I thought Jimmy Garoppolo held him back.
Oh, he definitely held him back. There's no doubt. He can't make every throw on the field. I mean, you're going to hold your team back if you can't do that. Limits what you can call.
I agree. I think Matt Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, there are only two quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League to have over 45,000 passing yards and less than 150 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford. That's it. That's the list. He also has been with one of the probably the second most dysfunctional organization in the NFL. Now first, because the Browns are back in Detroit. I mean, you have one of the greatest wide receivers ever literally just retire out of the blue. I mean, Calvin Johnson just said, yeah, I'm done.
That's true.
And listen, they went through coaches just as much as the Browns did. So the only difference was the Lions weren't looking for a quarterback all those years, but I think Stafford to San Francisco is the best move. I hope Deshaun Watson goes to the New York Jets because I don't know what he expects. Like, he wants to get out of a bad situation. Going to the New York Jets is equally as bad. I don't know what's going on with that dude. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Before we hop over to your headlines, this is the one thing I'll say about Deshaun Watson. He's probably not going to get traded to an AFC team. So we can forget the Jets and everybody else because I don't think they're not going to trade him within the conference. Two, who has the ability to actually bring him on cap-wise? Because remember, he signed a new contract. So that's not just
second highest paid quarterback.
So you have to have the cap room. Obviously, you have to have a need at quarterback. Me and you talked about this not too long ago. I like the 49ers for that. I think he's going to end up a 49er because I don't think he's going to stay in Houston much longer. And we can definitely get into that more on Thursday. But Mitch, it's time for one of my favorite segments of the show. It's Mitch's half-hour headlines. Mitch, run it.
Wow, we have a lot of good ones today, and some of them aren't even relevant to what we've been talking about already. So Jordan, let's just start. You tell me, where do you want to start? You want to start football, basketball, college football? Like, what are you feeling right now?
Mixed bag. Pull something out.
Oh, mixed bag?
Mixed
All
bag.
right, perfect. Let's start in the NFL, where former Browns Pro Bowl tight end Jordan Cameron is now dating, and expected to have a kid with Tiger Woods' ex-wife, Ellen Norton.
Ooh, good for him. Good for him. I've seen
Adam,
Tiger Woods' ex-wife.
Kind of out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see that one.
Just don't cheat on her, or you're gonna get like a 6-iron to the dome. I completely forgot the Browns had that guy.
Yeah, Pro Bowl tight end for a year. But good for Jordan Cameron. Jordan, over to boxing, where Jake Paul will fight UFC fighter. I'm sorry, I said boxing, but UFC fighter Ben Askren in an 8-round pro boxing match on April 17th. That ultimately means Jake Paul declined my invitation to fight him. Bitch move if you ask me, but what do you think?
When did this break?
This was this morning at 10 a.m.
Wow. I can't stand Ben Askren at all. I don't like him at all. So I hope Jake Paul pummels Ben. I will 100% be at a bar or somewhere for that fight. 100%. I'm here for it. Last time I watched Ben Askren, he got choked out, and I think... Oh, no, he didn't get choked out. He got a knee to the face from... Oh, no, never mind. I watched him lose after that. The last 2 fights I watched Ben Askren fight in, he lost. They were both championship-style fights. I'm excited for that.
It'll be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you said you watched it at a bar, because speaking of bars, that's where a lot of trouble happens. And Jordan, reports are, and there have been multiple accounts to confirm this now, that the 2008 Florida Gators won the BCS National Championship. Of the 121 players on that roster, 41 now have been arrested since that, and that includes that is 33% of the roster. That is a third of the team, and that is a team that Tim Tebow was the quarterback of and Urban Meyer is head coach of. Do you give Urban Meyer credit for coaching a bunch of juveniles? I mean, 41 of your 121 arrested since 2008.
He's gotten a lot of crap for that. I mean, if you go on YouTube or anywhere else and search, there's players that have come out and talked about how, like, Meyer is kind of abusive emotionally and verbally, and that was one of the reasons why the Florida Gators had so much trouble, which I don't think he had anything to do with that. Obviously, Urban Meyer doesn't steal things for you or hit people for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... Yeah. He didn't make Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez is a maniac. So...
was a maniac.
Past tense, yeah. Good call. Yeah, that's a staggering number. Staggering number. I'd love to compare them to the U's old teams, because the U had a lot of teams that were just riddled with people in and out of jail, which is really sad. But it's very perplexing to be at that type of level. Hey guys, university district is busy. You should choose to dash. I am on my phone right now using my cameras and my webcam. Yeah, Mitch, keep rolling.
All right, let's talk baseball really quick. I don't want to, but according to Dan Clark of Dan Clark Sports, is a verified Twitter account, but there hasn't been a whole lot of rumblings of it. We're going to talk about it anyway. Apparently, the Atlanta Braves have called the Cleveland Indians about a potential trade involving all-star / third-place finisher / best player on the team, Jose Ramirez. Jordan, if the Indians traded Jose Ramirez, would you even root for this team anymore?
It would be tough, Mitch. I'm tired of all the best players getting traded away from the Indians, but this is kind of what we've done for a long time. It's not very surprising. Honest to God, the Indians kind of run their organization like the Green Bay Packers do, where they don't spend a ton of money in the offseason. They don't really try to make any splash in free agency. They don't sign big contracts. So, not surprised. I'll continue to watch.
I don't know if I don't know if I can do that. But either way, let's go to basketball, because we're probably going to talk basketball in our next segment. Actually, I know we are. So, Jordan, let's start over in China, where Jimmer Fredette is still balling and dropped a casual 70 points for the Shanghai Sharks.
I saw that.
Dude still has it. Should he be in the NBA?
Definitely not. I wonder what his salary is. When I saw that headline of him scoring 71 points, I was like, I wonder how much he makes. I got to look up his salary tonight. I want to know what people in the Shanghai League make. Like a value meal, Wendy's every game, you think? Maybe?
Well, I'm glad you said Wendy's, because one thing we forgot last week
What did we forget?
Was the report that got Tennessee football coach fired, where they were giving recruits McDonald's bags full of cash.
Who was?
The University of Tennessee was giving college football recruits McDonald's bags full of cash, Jordan. And it is since why they have a new coaching search and why the athletic director, I believe is the athletic director, has since stepped down. Are you shocked that Tennessee is trying to bribe kids to come there with bags of what looks to be McDonald's Big Macs, but is actually cash?
I'm not surprised. Actually, I'm incredibly surprised. Can you imagine getting a large McDonald's bag with just $10,000 in it? I'd lose my mind. Do you think it's Ricky Williams doing it? I think Ricky Williams is the one doing this. I think he's behind the whole scandal.
But you want to talk about a Happy Meal? That would make me very happy. That's a real good Happy Meal, if you ask me. But
it's weird.
Just wanted to make sure we touched on that because we definitely forgot that last week. But back to the NBA, where Tristan Thompson, former Cleveland Cavalier and NBA champion, now Boston Celtic, said recently, and I quote, "People in Cleveland are genuine, hardworking, tough, gritty MFs. That's how I was when I played. I hope people remember me as that. Hopefully one day my jersey is up in that arena." Jordan, does Tristan Thompson's number 13 jersey deserve to be retired inside the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?
One, I can't believe you're asking me this question. Two, we got a fact check here. 1.4 or 1.5 is what Jimmer Fredette makes, which is a ton of money. Good for him. No, Tristan Thompson, no. No, he's only allowed back in Rocket Mortgage Arena on an invite-only basis. He's not even allowed to show up without letting us know. That's how I feel about Tristan Thompson.
That's respectable. I asked you. I'm glad you're honest. That's what the listeners want, I think. And if they don't, then they got to let us know. But
absolutely,
somebody that listens to a lot of fans or listeners, apparently, Jordan, is Steph Curry. According to Andrew Bogut, Steph Curry, if he has a bad first half, checks his Twitter mentions at halftime as motivation. Is Steph Curry soft?
If that motivates you, by all means, keep your phone on the bench. Hell with it. Why not? I'm very surprised that an athlete of his caliber would need motivation. Typically, individuals like him are very driven. And when you're driven, you mow past everything, You don't need anybody telling you, "Good job, Steph." So that's it's weird. I mean,
weird.
I don't know. Maybe he's not as mentally strong as we think he is.
Probably not. Let's not forget he threw a mouth guard.
He did.
Little baby back bitch. One more NBA and then one non-sports one, Jordan. The Miami Heat are planning to use COVID-19 sniffing dogs to screen fans at home games. Yeah, that's all I got. I mean, I don't know what you think about that.
Sounds like a great idea. We don't even know how to stop COVID, but apparently we've created something where we can allow people into the stands. It's kind of funny that
COVID sniffing dogs.
Do that. Yeah.
That's one of the most absurd things I've seen in a while. I don't know how that's going to work.
You mean we've struggled for a year as a country to get this in? That's because their main priority was to train the dogs first. That's weird. Not surprised that they would do that in South Beach.
Well, you know what? Florida doesn't care. Florida thinks there's nothing going on right now. But, Jordan, lastly, we got to bring up a Kardashian, especially since Drew just brought it up on the screen in the comment section.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
We're watching live. After years of romance rumors, a source has confirmed that Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker are officially dating. So, can we get a round of applause for Kourtney Kardashian for finally getting another lover?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kourtney. Thank you. Didn't even know that there was a Kardashian named Kourtney, so this is great.
Well, now you do. And two, under 2 years for this relationship.
Let me make sure I know who Travis Barker is. Is that the guy who was in Blink-182? Is that the right guy?
He is a musical artist. I cannot confirm that off the top of my head without looking it up.
Not that would give me any more info to make this decision. I'm gonna say it's not gonna be past 2 years, and I think that's a pretty safe bet. I think Vegas would say that too.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure everybody has hammered the under, and you are right. Travis Barker is from Blink-182. And Jordan, that was this afternoon's half-hour headlines.
Oh, Mitch, you're such a delight. We're going to get into something, Mitch, that you and I haven't had a chance really to get into because the NFL's been so popping that we haven't been able to get into the NBA or college hoops. But, guys, we're going to start getting into way more NBA action and way more college hoop action. And we're going to start with the Cavs. The Cleveland Cavaliers, bitch. I almost said it again. I almost said New Jersey. They beat the Brooklyn Nets not once, but twice. You surprised?
Oh, yeah. Because I thought the Brooklyn Nets were supposed to be this unstoppable team.
Thought so.
Weren't they?
That's what I heard.
Well, we heard wrong because Colin Sexton torched them the first night when they were at full strength. And then KD took the night off when they played again 2 days later, and it didn't matter. The Cavs still won. The Cavs are a lot of fun to watch, a lot more fun than I expected. They are young, they are energetic, and they're 2-2 in their last 4. They lost last night to LeBron and the Lakers. LeBron, we've seen that performance way too many times. But Jordan, the Cavs are actually fun to watch. I can't believe I'm saying it. They did lose by 38 to Boston the other night, but that's going to happen when you're a team as young as the Cavs. But what were your thoughts after the Cavs go 2-0 against the new Eastern Conference favorites, Brooklyn Nets?
I think it confirmed how I felt when the trade happened initially with James Harden. Initially, when they made that happen, I tweeted that if you've ever watched the game of basketball, you can't possibly think that what's happening in Brooklyn is going to work, specifically long term. And then maybe a day later after I had that thought, I thought, I watched Harden and Durant play together before Kyrie was back, and I was like, shit, if this is a team the Lakers have to play against and they can get some help, some other pieces, and get Kyrie unloaded, this could be a team that could win. But right now, as regular constituted, this team cannot make it further. Never mind. They're going to be in the NBA Finals, so I can't say not make it further. I think they will make it to the NBA Finals. I don't think they're better than a 2-win team in the NBA Finals, though. So what this showed to me is that they have a lot more to work on. And it doesn't bother me that the Cavs got blown out by 38. That's the NBA game. You know how many good teams have been down by over 40 this year? I mean, the Miami Heat have, really, 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 really good teams. Some nights it's just not your night.
Yeah.
And some nights you're sitting people too. So that's the NBA. That doesn't bother me at all. And the Cavs are going to either win games they're not supposed to, and then on the other end, they're going to get blown out by 4. This is not the last time the Cavs are going to lose by more than 30 this season.
No. What were your takeaways last night, though, after going wire to wire with the Lakers, losing 115-108 in a game LeBron had to drop 46 in his return home to Cleveland?
If the Brooklyn Nets would not have lost twice to the Cavaliers in the last 2 weeks, then I do not think LeBron tries nearly that hard. And I actually think the Cavs win last night, but I don't think LeBron was going to let the Cavs win one. It's the Cavs. But the bigger thing is I think that LeBron wanted to show that they could go right into Cleveland and beat the Cavaliers knowing that Brooklyn couldn't. And I think he wanted to kind of rub it in Kyrie's face. I mean, LeBron has hardly tried this year, except last night. LeBron hasn't put up any offensive numbers like that until last night. And it's because he wanted to send a message. He sent the message received. They're still going to win the NBA championship. No doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
No doubt. So, I mean, you and I are on the same page right now saying the Los Angeles Lakers are still the favorite to win it all.
In my opinion, 100%. No doubt. And
like Brandon Ranke just said in the comments, Anthony Davis has not even been playing like Anthony Davis. And LeBron James hasn't been playing like he did last night all year. That just goes to show you that the additions they made in the offseason have worked that much, and they have that much more depth on this team than they did last year. And it's crazy to think that. Anthony Davis isn't even going yet, although he did have a big night the other night, 37 points, I believe. But we know what those two are capable of. And now you add the supporting cast. This Lakers team could run through everybody, I think, Jordan.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people who know their role. When you don't have a ton of big personalities in the room, it's a lot easier to manage. Everybody who's in LA, make no mistake, they want to be there. They're excited to play alongside AD and LeBron. They'll sacrifice and do whatever it takes for them to get as far as they need to go. And there's not any other team other than maybe the Heat that are built like that, that have a strong core together that have had success. Man, 14-4, looking really good, and they've been able to take some time off. Dennis
undefeated
Schroeder,
on the road.
that makes no sense to me. I put that on Instagram the other day that they were undefeated. They were at one point they were 4-4 at home, but 8-0 on the road. Now they're 9-0 on the road, and not just 9-0, like winning real games. That spells trouble for everybody in the NBA. If you're winning on the road like that, it's going to be. And I mean, I understand that they're not true road games, but you still have to travel. It's still stressful. I mean, I just went to Colorado. That was stressful, even flying. You know what I mean? It's stressful on your body, mentally. So, man, Lakers looking good, Mitch. Here's my question for you. If you had to rank all 10 teams right now, how would you rank them? Like the top 10 teams, your power rankings in the NBA.
Off of what we expect or what we've seen? Because I think that differs a little bit.
That's a really good question. What we've seen.
What we've seen. All right. Well, Lakers are at number 1, Jordan. And there's no debate there. I'd have to say the Clippers are at 2, just because they have been playing a lot better as of late. They are looking to be what we expected them to be, Jordan. But I think their window was last year before the Lakers, added everybody like we said. After that, it's tough. The Jazz are 12-4. They're a team last year that surprised a lot of people in the bubble, made it all the way to the Western Conference. No. Yeah, well, the Western Conference semis.
Yeah. Yep.
And the one team I just can't get a read on is the 76ers, who have the 4th best record in the NBA at 12-6. Joel Embiid is playing like an MVP candidate. Looks like they're on the same page there with their head coach in Doc Rivers and Ben Simmons, but I would still put the Celtics ahead of them. I think the Celtics are a more complete team than the Sixers, so that's at least my top 5. And after that, I got the Bucks at 6, Nuggets at 7. The Miami Heat are struggling right now. Whether you've noticed that or not, they're 6-10, Jordan. Yeah. So I can't put them in my top 10 as much as I want to.
You
but
can't put the Bucks in your top 10.
Who?
Who'd you just say?
The Miami Heat at 6-10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said the Bucks. I was like, do you not have the Bucks in your top 10? Gotcha.
No, I have the Bucks at 6, Nuggets at 7. I have Brooklyn at 8. They are 11-8, and when they have played together, besides the Cavs games, they do look pretty good. Pacers are shocking people at 10-7, and I'd say the Suns are my 10th team. I'd say Trailblazers, but with CJ McCollum out for another at least 3 to 4 weeks, I just can't say it with confidence.
That's fair. That's really fair. My list is really similar to yours. There's been a lot of surprise. The Miami Heat, that surprises me that they're playing that bad. And it's not just that they're playing bad basketball. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's like completely 2 different teams you're seeing every other night. And so it's really, I don't know. I expected them to have a better regular season this year than they did last year. So that's pretty surprising to me. 16 games in, I feel like that's a bit in. I feel like you shouldn't have to work on any team chemistry right now. They know their rotations, right? Their best rotations. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just going to go through my list really quick. The Lakers at number 1. The Clippers at number 2. The Clippers are actually, I think they're a way better team this year than they are last year. And I think maybe Montrezl Harrell is one of the reasons why. Maybe he's not a locker room guy. And number 3, I have the Sixers. They're playing incredible basketball. That's not a team that I thought... here, before I preface anything, I did think that there would be a team in the East better than the Sixers are playing right now. Like, the Sixers are the best team in the East, and they're an okay team. They're playing well, but they're like it's really troubling to think that they're the 3rd best team if you're a fan of the East, because you don't really have somebody who can contend right now. At number 4, I have Boston. That was my top East team when we picked at the start of the year. I still think they're really good. They're going to continue to get better. They're really young. Their best player is 22 years old. Nets at number 5. I mean, the Nets are really good, but I mean, they just got beat by the Cavaliers twice. So me having them at number 5, I think I'm giving them a little more credit than they deserve. At number 6, I have Utah. 7, the Bucks. 8, the Nuggets, and then on the way out, you could probably go the Suns, or the Trailblazers. Oh, not even the Trailblazers, because McCollum's out. Once it gets down that line, it gets a little fuzzy. I only think there's a couple teams that really can contend for a title right now. It's a very short list, Mitch. Very short list. But like I said, we're 16 games in. We're going to see a lot more separation through these next 16 games, and hopefully we have a little clearer picture on who's going to make the playoffs, and then we can get into seeding. Because remember, there's only 72 games this year, Mitch.
Yep.
So every game is a little bigger than It would be in an 82 game season. I don't know if all the players are looking at it like that, but that's how I would look at it for sure, because I think you have to. So solid top 10 though. Nothing to really get into on that. But going back to the Nets are interested in Kevin Love and JaVale McGee. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the Cavs and the Nets are able to finalize a deal that gets either of them over to Brooklyn?
JaVale McGee, yes. Kevin Love, no. I just don't understand how Brooklyn could, because Kevin Love is a big contract, Jordan. That's the issue.
It's $30 million, right?
Right. That's the issue on why he's still here right now. We've been saying the past 2 years Kevin Love, should be traded, and I love Kevin Love. I was so open to getting him when we did. I love that he wanted to stay here, but the whole thing is the Brooklyn Nets have no cap space to sign this guy, and it's crazy. But as Jordan leaves again because he doesn't like my takes. Oh, no, just kidding. He puts on his Kevin Love jersey and returns into the screen. The only way this trade happens is there'd have to be a third team to facilitate the money. But Joe Harris is the next biggest contract in the Nets, making $16 million a year. Cannot be traded till after February 13th or March 1st, one of those 2 dates, per his contract and everything. So he would have to be on the move. I would gladly take Joe Harris back. Give me Joe Harris and an injured Spencer Dinwiddie. Somebody said that to me earlier as you're reading the comment that Drew just left, but if they sent Kyrie back to Cleveland for Kevin Love, I don't know. How would you feel about that, Jordan?
I would love it. I would love it. I mean, would it make the Cavs? I mean, honestly, you wouldn't even play Kyrie if we traded for him in Cleveland. We should just let him sit there. The Nets and the Cavs both don't like Kyrie Irving right now. So why don't they both make this trade? Because the Nets need to get rid of Kyrie Irving. And the Cavs Dan Gilbert would love to ruin some prime years of Kyrie Irving's career. He would love to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, I would do it just like for the reasons you said. I mean, he's not going to play.
Oh, no.
Even if he wanted to, he wouldn't. We'd sit him. Do you think this happens, Jordan? I think JaVale McGee can because he's on, I believe, the vet minimum or a very small contract compared to Kevin Love. So do you think this happens, and do you want it to happen?
I definitely don't want it to happen because I don't want the Nets to get any – actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I do want it to happen because I don't want the NBA Finals. I want LeBron to win the NBA Finals this year, no doubt, just because I love greatness. I love watching it. But I don't want to watch a series that ends in 5 games. I want the Nets to be as good as possible just in case they make the finals because I want to watch a 6 to 7 game series, to be honest with you. I don't want them to get Kevin Love because I love Kevin Love, and I don't want to have to cheer against Kevin Love. There's only one team that I'm cheering against right now in the NBA, and that's the Brooklyn Nets. So I would like them to not get JaVale McGee, but I think they'll end up with JaVale McGee and all of his sweet spin moves and his
point guard skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how it pans out. I don't think they're going to end up with Kevin Love though. They'll end up with JaVale McGee. So.
Well, I mean, they need a rim protector after sending Josh Allen to us. I'm with you though. I hope Kevin Love does not go there. Hell, send Kevin Love to the Lakers.
Yeah, as if the Lakers could afford that. But trust me, Kevin Love would love to go to the Lakers. He would love.
Oh, absolutely.
He'd love there. Honestly, I'm waiting for one of these players to give up most of their contracts so they can play on a championship team. Like I'm waiting for somebody to do that. I think it's going to happen. Because you could. I mean, realistically, Kevin Love could go back to the drawing board and restructure his contract. I mean, he's not going to because he's going to be throwaway money. But at some point, someone's going to do it because they already have enough money. So there's that. Mitch, we're going to switch it up real quick, if you don't mind. We're going to hop into college basketball. Before
we do that,
go ahead.
I do want to make one comment.
Make one.
I should have put it in the headlines, but I didn't. But I don't know if you saw the news about Karis LeVert. He was a part of that 4-team trade. He ended up in the Indiana Pacers. Jordan, that trade may have single-handedly saved his life. Now, we don't know how aggressive it was, but during his physical, the Pacers found he had a mass on his kidney. It turned out to be cancerous, and it has been removed. So just like something really cool, good story, feel-good story, and very lucky for Karis LeVert. I know Sam Summers had put that in our live chat earlier on YouTube, but I just wanted to touch on that and just say that might have been the greatest thing that could have ever happened to Karis LeVert in that trade, whether he wanted to leave there or not.
Oh, no doubt. And it's a great trade. It's even a better trade for who? The Brooklyn Nets. Because, I mean, they were able to get James Harden out of it. I mean, you don't make that trade without Karis LeVert. No way. So, like, the fact that he's gone, it's good for Karis LeVert, good for the Nets.
Now we can switch it up, Jordan.
Yeah, we're going to switch it up. We're going into college basketball, Mitch. Something that, honest to God, one of the reasons why I think a lot of people aren't watching right now is because we weren't able to really watch college basketball last season. I mean, we missed an entire college basketball season. Let's just be honest. If you don't have March Madness, you don't have a college basketball season. So, right now, we have a college basketball atmosphere that is much different than in previous years. Duke, Kentucky, and what's the other one, Mitch?
North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, North Carolina. All three of those teams have been unranked this season, something we haven't seen in a long time. There are still great programs who were great 10 years ago who are still great now. One of those is Gonzaga. One of those, though, Mitch, is Michigan. Michigan does have something going well up there in Ann Arbor, and it's their basketball team. And it's about the only thing they got going well up there. I mean, they barely have a football team. I'm waiting for them to be in the same conference as Villanova and the FBS. I mean, the FCS. Yeah. So, Mitch, what do you think of how this college basketball season is shaping out? And is Michigan, we both watched them play this year, are they a for-real team?
So I'll answer the first part of your question. I'll also address Mo's comment in the chat that says college basketball is so bad on the eyes. I agree that it's pretty bad on the eyes this year, unless you're watching your team, Jordan. For me, that's Ohio State. I know you, Duke, maybe Ohio State some days here or there. And then we have Mitch Farnsworth in the chat that, is a Michigan fan. I have watched Michigan, just having a relationship with Mitch and texting him. Jordan, Michigan's legit.
Oh, they are.
They're legit. They are. I mean, there's no way around it. Juwan Howard has turned that program. I don't know if you want to say turn it around, because they were still relevant and a really good team in the Big Ten when John Beilein left, but
not like
there
this.
Can be not like this. And there's also those lulls when you switch coaches and how you want to take things. It took 1 year. Michigan is, in my opinion, the second or third best team in the country, and they're legit. They should be the favorite to win the Big Ten. They're one of the 7 teams in the Big Ten ranked in the top 25, and they are the 4th team ranked in the country, jumping up from 7 last week. But Jordan, I mean, they do it all. Offensive, defensive, they force turnovers, score off turnovers, and they have basketball players that will die for loose ball. I mean, they're going at it every night, and there's a reason that they have shocked a lot of people so quickly this year.
Can you imagine the pressure that would be on the football team, the program, and Jim Harbaugh if Michigan somehow won a national championship this year? Even if they don't win a national championship this year, let's say Michigan makes a deep run in March Madness. How much pressure do you think Jim Harbaugh is under then? Like, he's already under immense amount of pressure. The fact that he even signed a new contract with Michigan is crazy that he's still there. How much pressure do you think he's in is if Juwan Howard's able to get this Michigan Wolverine finishing a season, not just starting a season strong, but finishing a season strong?
Oh, he's under pressure, Jordan. It has to be, because a guy, like you said, 2 years in and does this. I mean, let's be honest, I don't know what Michigan was picked to finish in the Big Ten. I don't think they were even ranked to start the year in the top 25. I could be wrong. That's just me guessing, because I didn't, dive deep into this before we did the show. And he does this now, and they do this. And, Michigan has had all these goals and lofty expectations and hasn't been able to deliver, or even let alone beat their arch rival. The pressure would build. It has to. And for those saying it wouldn't, because it's a different sport and there are different spots, it would obviously build for a guy that just got a contract extension for finishing 6th in the Big Ten East. That your goal is to compete for Big Ten championships, which you haven't been there. I mean, we have to see how the season plays out, Jordan. The Big Ten is a beast. Although you and I are saying Michigan is this top team, Jordan, any given night, there's about 8 teams in the Big Ten who could win the conference. I mean, it's crazy how deep the Big Ten is, and there's a reason why it's the best conference in all of college basketball.
Yeah, and speaking of all those teams that are ranked in the Big Ten, let's go to our top 25. Let's roll through the rankings real quick, Mitch. At number 1, getting 61 of the 64 first place votes, is Gonzaga. So Gonzaga, to everyone else is the best team in college basketball. And remember, there's only 2 teams, Mitch, that are undefeated still. It's Gonzaga and Baylor. Like, there's only 2. Like, in Power 5. Number 3, we have Villanova. They only have 1 loss. Number 4, Michigan, Texas, Houston, Iowa, Virginia, Alabama ranked 9th. Yeah. Alabama, a football school, playing good. Maybe Colin Sexton's playing well. Maybe he's giving Alabama some good vibes. They're at number 9, and number 10 is Texas Tech. And our home state, in the AP Top 25, Ohio State, 12-4. They're ranked 13th. I don't think there's really a reason to get into the rest of the teams. I don't think there's anything notable. Oklahoma's ranked 24th. There it is. Mitch, anything in the top 25 that you're looking at and you're like, hey, I don't like that?
It's not that I don't like it. One, I personally would have Michigan over Villanova. I literally have only seen 2 games of Villanova, but I've seen more Michigan. I'd have to watch and see how good Villanova is to have them ranked ahead of Michigan. But I agree, Gonzaga is the number 1 team in the country. Baylor, listen, doesn't have a loss, so you have to keep them at number 2 right now. They play, a tough schedule. Jordan, Texas at 5? Shaka Smart. Finally doing something at Texas since he's left VCU. We talked about this off the air a couple weeks ago. Last week, he left VCU. We haven't heard of him. He's been nothing but a disappointment in Texas. Now they're 5th in the country. Houston at 6. That one surprises me because Houston is not known for basketball. I mean, they get in the tournament every now and then. I know that they played Ohio State, I believe, 2 years ago. But Texas shocks me at 5, and then Alabama at 9. I didn't even know Alabama was that good at college basketball this year. But you have a lot of the names that you expect to be in there. Iowa with Luka Garza, he's up for Player of the Year at 7. Expected that. Texas Tech, just a year removed or 2 years now removed from the national championship Final Four appearance. That's a good program. There's a lot of teams in there you expect, but Texas, to me, Jordan, Houston, and Alabama are the ones that I am puzzled by.
I'm trying to think of Houston's coach. I know if Houston has the same coach, I can't think of his name. Houston does have something. They have a tremendous coach who I can't even think of his name. And
I have it for you in a sec.
How tremendous is he if I can't think of his name? Lord have mercy. Houston basketball coach. Somebody fact check that in the live chat because I can't remember his name right now. Calvin Sampson. Is it Sampson? If anybody can fact check that. But yeah, he's been around for a while. He knows what he's doing. So keep an eye on Houston, definitely in the next month or so. And you got to remember, we're already almost through January. So that means we have 1 month and then March Madness. It's coming up quick. And it doesn't look like anything's going to get shut down. It does look like all the sports that are playing right now are going to continue even with COVID going on, which is good for the sport. It's great for the sport. And obviously great for the individuals who actually play college basketball, Mitch, because you have a lot of friends who play college basketball.
Mm-hmm. Calvin Sampson is the head coach of the Houston Cougars, by the way. Yep, you were correct.
Okay.
We do know our stuff. Sometimes we just second guess ourselves. It's tough sometimes.
I couldn't even second guess myself. I couldn't think of his. For a second,
I saw his face. I could see his face, and I was right there with you. The name slipped my mind.
Yeah. Mitch, going to women's basketball. There was a game about a month and a half ago where I think it was South Carolina. The women's team scored like 120. I watched the game. It was hilarious watching them play. It was literally like watching a 20-year-old play a 10-year-old. That's how good the South Carolina girls were, I believe, the last time I watched them. However, there's another women's team playing pretty well, and this particular team, the Michigan Wolverines women's team, had a woman the other night, score 50 points in a college basketball game versus Ohio State. And Ohio State's girls team, watched them, was it yesterday? Yeah, while I was in the airport. Really good team. Really good team. So how is it possible this woman to drop 50 points in a college game? When's the last time you've watched somebody drop 50 points in the game? Is that one of the best performances all time in women's basketball as an individual?
Oh, it has to be. And I didn't even watch it live, actually. Give credit to, once again, friend of the show, Mitch Farnsworth, who texted me about it. But Jordan, Naz Hillman is from Ohio. She's actually from Northeast Ohio. She went to Gilmore Academy.
Yep.
Absolute stud. Very highly touted recruit out of high school. And she did it all in high school, leading their team to a state championship. She's now doing in her sophomore year, I believe, what was expected of her. And 50 points that gained notice around the country. I mean, she put the country on notice. She's now third in college basketball in scoring at 26.1 points per game. I mean, dropping 50 will definitely help get you up there. There's no doubt about that. But she's a force to be reckoned with. But for you to tell me they still lose 81-77, the rest of her team only scored 27 points. That's nuts, Jordan.
Yeah, it's crazy. That girl actually, so Gilmore Academy is in St. Thomas's division, so I got to see some pretty incredible athletes from Gilmore Academy growing up. Just it's unbelievable some of the athletes that go there, and she's no different. I have to go back and look at all time for women's scoring records for in season for a single game after we're done, because I'm really curious now. But Mitch, it's 4:13. Show's almost over. And my favorite segment of the show is next. You ready for it?
Oh, I'm ready.
Who has bigger balls?
Mitch, who has bigger balls? Is it Kirk Schilling for saying an incredibly amount of racist things? I don't know which one to pick.
Controversial. Yeah.
He has said so many things that not only do you shake your head at, you walk out of the room after you read them. You're like, I can't believe a human being said that. Or is it Matt LaFleur for kicking a field goal when it was 4th in goal, basically from the 5, with no guarantee you're getting the ball back with a little over 2 minutes? Who has bigger balls? Is it Kirk Schilling? Or is it second-year coach for the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur?
There's so many ways you could take this, because I think both have big balls.
Tremendous balls.
Tremendous. I mean, Matt LaFleur, you just wasted perhaps the best year of Aaron Rodgers' career.
Probably.
And Kurt Schilling, listen, he's got big balls in my opinion. He's going to win this in my opinion today. 2016, I will not say some of the things he said or what it was, but literally telling journalists to harm themselves. And for those that don't know, today is actually the day we find out if anybody made the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Kurt Schilling is up for Hall of Fame nomination, and the people that vote are journalists who Kurt Schilling insulted in 2016. The people that literally control your fate. But if that wasn't enough, the votes were already casted when Kurt Schilling made a comment about all the riots at the Capitol a few weeks ago, to a point where now the voters want to rescind their vote for Kurt Schilling if they voted for him. Jordan, this man literally insulted the people that controlled his fate and then just kept going. And he might still get in the Hall of Fame. And for that, Kurt Schilling has bigger balls.
I think you might be right, but I'm going to take this a different way. I know that I have to either pick Kirk Schilling or Matt LaFleur for our bracket, because we are doing a who has bigger balls bracket, right, for the month, for the year, on Thursday. But how about the people who already voted for Kirk Schilling and who want to take their votes back? They have the biggest balls. That is, one of the things about our culture that I hate is cancel culture. Everybody wants to cancel somebody who doesn't agree with them or who says something who maybe offends them. Kirk Schilling said some real stuff that would offend just about anybody. However, he said it after you voted. You don't get to take your vote back. What the hell do you think this is? Oh, I'm going to vote again. I don't like what you said about me. No. You don't get to take your vote back, you goon. You goons. That makes no sense. By the way, Kirk Schilling was like, you have to get 75% of the votes to get in to the Hall of Fame, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be on 75% of people's ballots. He's on right now 74.6%. So he's right there. So these comments were huge. I don't think you should keep one of the best pitchers that I've ever seen play baseball out of the Hall of Fame just because of his words. You put people in because of their play. But we all know that's not the case, because Terrell Owens was held out of being in because just people didn't like him. Just because people didn't like him. Not because he said anything. So the people who choose to put people in the Hall of Fame have the final say. I guess I'm going to pick Kirk Schilling, even though it's the people who called out Kirk Schilling. I'll pick Kirk Schilling for who has bigger balls.
I mean, Matt, listen.
He doesn't have big balls. You give the ball to one of the best quarterbacks of all time. It showed me that Matt LaFleur didn't have any balls, let alone big balls.
Yeah.
So I'll take Kirk Schilling for who has bigger balls. Guys, if you're still watching this, please subscribe to our channel. A lot of you guys don't actually subscribe who listen, and I can see that. Please subscribe, like our channel, follow us on social media. This is our 20th episode. We're really excited to be rolling with you guys, and a lot of you guys stayed with us for a long time. We appreciate you guys. We will see you Thursday for the 21st episode. Mitch will be hosting that episode. Mitch, you have any parting words before we leave?
If you're not subscribed to us, I don't know what you're doing, like Jordan said, but you need to. And listen, the content from here on out is only going to get better. And it's going to be a lot more interactive. And a lot more laughs are to come. But make sure you tune in for episode 21 on Thursday. Jordan, I'm good, and I'm out.
I'm out. Good night.